Hello guys, welcome back to the video lecture series of Python application programming prescribed by VTU. So today in this lecture, we are going to discuss about module 3. Module 3 actually consists of list, dictionaries, tuples, and regular expressions. In this video lecture, I'll try to explain about the list. So usually we will have a question like, what do you mean by a list? A list is an ordered sequence of values. It is also a type of data structure in Python. The values inside the list can be of any type. This is very important. The elements of the list are enclosed within a square bracket. Here I have assumed a list of names of cities, which is a string, which is enclosed inside a square bracket, and I've assigned it as Jesus. I have another list of integers 17 and 123, which is assigned to a variable called numbers, and also I have an empty string with a void square bracket. Now if I would like to print all this list at a time, so I made this print statement, Jesus, numbers, and empty. So I would get a concatenated list, that is output, as the list of places. Again, 17, 123, the numbers, as well as the empty list. So here, again, I have another set of example. Here, ls1 is a list containing 4 integers, 10, -4, 25, and 13. A list need not to be of the same data type. So you can see in ls3 as a list with float, string, an integer, as well as another list. So now if I would see what is the type of ls3. So type of ls3 is again a list, which has got all 3 different types of data types, that is float, string, integer, and again a list. So the type of the list, the class it belongs to, it is a list. How do I create a list? So just enclose a list with a square bracket and the elements inside the list, say for example, an integer, a float, or a string. So that creates a list. I just want to check what is the type of the list. So type of ls, it is a list. Here, in this case, lists are mutable. What do you mean by lists are mutable? What do you mean by mutable? Mutable means you can change the value of elements inside the list. So the elements in the list can be accessed using a numerical index within a square bracket, just like this, ls of 2. Suppose if I want to access the first element inside the list, so I would access it as ls inside the square bracket 0, because it is a 0th index. The offset is 0 on this. So this is a 0th element, this is the first element, this is the second element, which is a list here, and the third element is a negative value, is -5. So how do I extract? So I would extract ls of 0. If I place a print statement and pass ls of 0 as an input argument to the print statement, let me try to remove this. Okay, I would access 34. Suppose if I want to change the variable ls, likewise, let us just think about accessing the elements, how I can access. So print ls, I would access this, the entire list which has been printed. Suppose if I want to access the second element 0, 1, 2, that's the third element actually. So at the second index, so that would be 2, 3. Again, it is a list. Suppose if I want to access the first element of this list, so then it would be ls of 2 followed by 0th index. So you can pass two input arguments to this list. One is 2, that is ls of 2. It is trying to access the second element in the list, and of 0 inside this element, the first element inside the list. So it would be 2. So lists are mutable. I would retain the same element here. Let me have the same ls here. So here I have the list ls is equal to, I would call it as before and print ls. Again, I would like to print and see what happens after I perform the mute option. So now here, carefully observe, I have created a list ls is equal to, and now I want to replace this element inside the list by some other value. Say I want to replace it by hello string. So I should call this string, I should call this list with its index ls of 2 is equal to, and assign a new value to this variable, and then print ls, and just observe the output. So before, the list was 34 high, 2, 3 as a list, and -5. Now, since you can observe this, the elements in the list can be accessed using a numeric index within square bracket, and then you can assign a new value to that. We call this as lists are mutable. The relationship is also called as mapping. It's also called as mapping with some other values. Lists are mutable and also called as mapping. Going to the second example. Any integer expressions can be an index. So this is an expression. Only thing is you have to find a particular index value. Even if you have 2 star 1, that is the value is 2. So ls of 2, 0, 1, 2. ls of 2 will be 2, 3. This will be accessed. I have just created another string, extended the above example, like the above list, with another string 2 stars 2, just in order to make you realize, if I use this expression 2 star 2, so this would be ls of 4. This is as good as ls of 4. So ls of 4 is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this would be 2 star 2, the string. So this either can be represented using a single integer value or an expression. So traversing inside a list. Yeah. Traversing a list. A list can be traversed using a for loop, but I guess you already have. We have a couple of more operators. A negative indexing counts from backward. Suppose if I want to extract the last element of the list, just say ls -1, and likewise -1, -2, -3. So that would be a negative indexing count from that. Yeah, in operator, this is again another interesting operator where in operator is applied on list with results in a Boolean value. Suppose if I am trying to look at the value inside a list, say for example 34 in ls, it would say true. Why? Because 34 is present in this list ls, so this is true. Minus 2, whereas minus 2 is not there. Let us just try to check whether 3, whether it is present inside the list. Yeah, again it is false. Why? Because I did not ask ls of 2. It will directly look into the elements directly inside the list, and here we are actually trying to extract 2, which is an element of the list inside a list. So be careful. So this is false. Again, you can check for 3. Of course, again, you may get false. Yeah, you got false. If I say 2, 3, then I guess it might give you true. Yeah, you'll get it as true. You understand? Yeah, now going to traversing in a list. How to traverse inside a list. Now, as you have used for loop, here I'm going to use the same iteration loop where I created a list, ls is equal to so and so for item in ls. So item is nothing but it's an iterative loop in ls as in this loop. So item actually it iterates every time in the list, and every time in each iteration, each elements of the list are fetched into this for loop. So if I just increase the element of the string, the element with the string, so again you can see at each iteration, for every iteration, the elements can be accessed with the combination of range and length also. Here I have a list, ls is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I would like to have a range as well as length. If you want to make it individual, so what is the length? Length of ls. So let me print. Otherwise, we can just directly say length of ls it will be 4. Yeah. Now, what is the range of length of ls? Again, it is 4. Yeah. Again, it is 0 to 4. So it would if you'd like to create a for loop for just say, yeah, I have the program which I copied for I in range of length of ls. And now you just check with what is the value of I. So the value of I will be each value elements of the list. I can check. Okay, you have to make print of I. To make print of I. Yeah, let me see. The first iteration is 0, so it is 0. ls of 0 is equal to ls of 0 star 2. So it is 1 star 2. So all the elements of this list is multiplied by the value 2. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I can use this program to print the list of values. So earlier it was ls of 1, whereas ls of 0 is 1. So it is 1. Then the next iteration, the next iteration, the value of I is 1. So ls of 1 is 2. 2 star 2 is 4. And so on. List operations. If you want to concatenate to list, you can simply say list 1 plus list 2. It will be concatenated. If you want to create multiple repetition of the list, if you want to repeat the list, you can repeat it using star operator, that is multiplication operator. Just simply say ls1 star 3, it repeats. The list is repeated 3 times. Here you have only one element inside the list. You can do it like this also. Or else if you want to create the list and then say multiply, it will create it 4 times. Directly you can say this. So now list slices, extracting, I have a list like A, B, C, D, E. Now if I want to have similar to strings, the slicing can be applied on list as well. Just if I want to extract a particular group of characters, yeah, I could do it. Now, if I want to extract full list without any index, I just simply say colon T inside the square bracket. Of course, it is always extracted using an index operator, that is a square bracket. Suppose I want to extract all elements from second position, leaving out A. So just say T of 1 all, colon is nothing but 1 all, from 1 all. Suppose if I want to extract first 3 elements, A, B, and C. So I should place all elements till 3 till the third index, 0, 1, 2, 3, excluding D. Be careful. If I want to select some middle elements, say I want only B and C, or here in this case, it is from 2, 0, 1, 2. So 2 to 4, leaving out 4th element. Using a negative indexing. So from minus to all, so here it is just like -1, -2. So till here, all the elements, it is ABC. You can see this as ABC. And suppose if I want to reverse a list using a negative value for stride, you have to use double colon and -1. From -1, that is from last, reverse all the other elements inside the list. Kindly observe the result here. And with respect to, let me just try to minimize this so that you can see both input and output in the same window. So T colon is just like it prints all the elements inside the list. So T1 all, it prints all the elements after the first element, that is the 0th index from first. I have colon 3. So colon all values till 3 but excludes third element. So it is ABC. Likewise, some middle element here and negative indexing here. And yeah, it's reversing using a negative value for stride. I hope you have understand list slicing. I have a couple of methods here. It's quite interesting. There are several built-in methods. Let's say here I have a built-in method called append. Suppose if you want to append, if you have a list like 1, 2, 3, and if you want to append a value inside the list, just simply say ls.append. And just this is a function, this is a method, and it needs some input argument. And should print and say what is that ls now. The list has been appended with hello. Likewise, I have extend also. For extend, I need 2 lists. Say ls1 is equal to, I have the first list like 1, 2, 3. And I have the second list called ls2, which is equal to, let me call it as a 4, 5, and 6. Now I can use ls2 dot extend ls1. So it is just telling me to extend the list ls2 with 1, 2, 3, that is ls1. So, and then now print ls2. Yeah, ls2, the list ls2 is extended with list ls1. But one more thing you need to observe, that ls1 remains to be the same, but ls2 is extended by 1, 2, 3. So I have sort. Suppose I have a list of elements like ls is equal to, just give some random numbers, just in order to identify, to sort it. I guess I'm sorting already it in descending order. Let me just try to have some variations. Yeah. So suppose if you have a list like ls is equal to, and say ls dot sort, so ls dot sort and print ls. This is very useful function. When we go to the next coming modules, you can see how severe these methods are. ls dot sort, I can see I can sort it in ascending order by default. Suppose if you want to sort it in descending order, so yeah, you may have to pass some input arguments like ls dot sort, yeah, reverse. Reverse is equal to be careful with this, case sensitive. Yeah, I got some invalid statement print ls. Yeah, here I have mistakenly. Yeah. This is 1811. This is in ascending order. So if I say ls dot sort with an input argument here, yeah, with an input argument, so it is in descending order. So it gives me in descending order. Yeah, likewise I have reverse. Suppose if I want to reverse the element inside the list, just simply say ls dot, say, let me take a very simple example here, like ls is equal to 1, 2, 3, and let me reverse it. I'm not giving any input arguments here. And let me for it as ls, and let me just try directly print it because I don't want to assign it to some other variable. Just say print ls dot reverse and you will see. Oh. No, it is none type because I cannot assign this ls. I have to use it outside and then print ls. Yeah, yeah. I shall just try to rectify it. So now it is only print ls. Actually, what happened is like I have assumed it as assume it as a is equal to ls dot reverse, but actually it is a none type. Why? Because you have directly applied a method onto data, and but there is no assignment here done because it is simply modified. The method is directly applied to the list directly, and it cannot be assigned to any other variable. So it is just like your void function. So you have the same list has been altered. So you have reversed it. Suppose if I want to count how many times a particular value inside the list has appeared. Suppose if I want to count how many times 2 has appeared. If I want to see how many the frequency of elements, yeah, you can use ls dot count with an input argument 2, where you're actually looking for uh, the frequency of 2 in the list. Yeah, it's the frequency of 2 in the list. So yeah, I have to assign it to just comment this. I don't want to print this, so I would say ls dot count of 2. Yeah, you can now you can assign it to a variable, and then you can say print a because it's a fruitful function, right? Yeah, because it's a fruitful function. So I am actually looking for 2, the frequency of 2, how many times it is appearing inside this list. So it is again another method. Yeah, I have insert. Say I have to insert a value inside a list. Assume I have a list. It's just like very similar to your append. Suppose if I have a list like a is equal to, let me call it as ls because it's quite familiar. So I have a floating point value, and I have an integer, and I have a string, and suppose if I want to embed or insert a value or an element inside a list, so I could use ls dot insert. You have to pass 2 input arguments, remember. The first is the index, where actually you are trying to insert. And the next is the element which you're trying to insert. The index as well as element. Suppose I have an intention to insert an element inside the list, which should be at the first index, and the element is high. It's a string. Now you say print ls. Now you say print ls. Now you can see this was the original list with 3.2, 32 and a string. Now at the first index here, this position, a new element has been added, that is high has been added using insert function. Likewise, I can use the method called index used to get the index position of a particular value. Now, if you want to know, you should have a prior knowledge about the values inside the list. Suppose I want to fetch where does this 32 value exist. Now I can use ls dot index and give the value as an input argument. So you can find where actually the index value of the element. So the index value of the element 32 is 2. I can fetch the index position also of a particular value in the list. Likewise, you can use different types of list, traversing the list, and yeah, I shall share a couple of programs, right, in your Edmodo group so that you can work more on the list methods, because it's you have so many methods inside the list. I have just selected few like append and insert, index, and yeah, count, clear, insert, and so on. So there are many more methods. One more thing that you need to understand, like there is a difference between append and extend methods. What append does, append basically will append the value. It is treated as one item and made as an inner list. Whereas extend simply extends the list here. If you say list dot append, but if I want to extend the list, I have done it here. Yeah, if you want to append the list and extend the list, you should be careful because append and extend both looks very similar. Yeah, here you can see if I want to append, it should be a single value at a time. But whereas if you want to extend, you need to have two elements like ls1 and ls2, and yeah, here, ls1 and ls2. So this is an extension of the list. It results the same, but here I need two lists, and the list can be extended with another list. Here I also can have another list with a small single element. It will be appended. Sort, reverse, count. So these are the different types of methods. So in next coming video, we'll be dealing about how to delete the elements inside the list using pop, remove, and DL operators. Again, we try to create some functions using list and functions, list and strings, and parsing lines and object and values lies in list arguments. So these are the remaining parts inside the list. So next, in the next video, we shall see more about how to delete the elements inside the list. I would make another request after watching this video. Kindly uh, go through all the commands or all the methods, whatever we have used till now. I insist all of you to execute and see hands-on, take an experience of how this list can be used in future. And we'll see you shortly. We'll join you with another video on the list that is in continuation with the list. Okay? Thank you one and all. Stay home and be safe.